Hey guys, Bart with Bicycle Rider YouTube, and here I have the 2021 Marin Rift Zone 2. Now, anybody knows the history on me and YouTube, I started YouTube years ago on a channel called GovVelo, where I did a lot of reviews on the Rift Zone 2 made by Marin. Those were some pretty raw videos, but they were from the heart. I have spent a lot of time riding the former generation of this bike, which they haven't changed much on the bike other than paint scheme. But you know, I am a veteran mountain bike racer. I have a $10,000 carbon fiber specialized Epic cross-country bike that I have a blast riding, that I've had some success, you know, on the racing scene with. And on the local scene, I love riding that bike fast through our trails and seeing who can beat me and who can't. When I picked the Rift Zone 2 as my off-season trainer to keep miles off of my $10,000 bike that costs a lot to maintain, I picked a Rift Zone 2 by Marin to see what that bike can do on our local trails here in South Mississippi. Down here, speed is king. 29-inch wheels, you know, short travel, fairly light bikes that are fast. Well, the Marin Rift Zone is a bike that kind of blends a trail bike with a fast platform, but still gives you maybe a little bit more comfort, a little bit more stability, and the feel of more travel. So this is a bike that I have really put through the test with some of my cross-country, you know, race buddies, but yet I've been able to do it and have a lot of fun on this bike. This bike has some more modern numbers as far as trail numbers, as far as rake and trail, bottom bracket height, reach. There's just a lot going on with this bike that a lot of cross-country, you know, pure cross-country bikes don't have. But this bike is a very speedy platform. Even when I compare my Strava numbers to my race bike to a Rift Zone 2, you know, you know, on a 20-mile course, you know, I might have been 30 seconds down. And, you know, from day to day, that could be nutrition, that could be trail conditions, that could be, you know, different things. But really, this bike is much faster than you would believe. I did a few changes to it to ride cross country, and a lot of that is, you know, this bike comes spec'd with some pretty aggressive tires. So these tires give you a lot of grip. If you're a newbie that's getting into the full suspension game, I'm going to say don't worry about doing a whole lot of upgrades right now. This bike rides fantastic the way it is. You know, get used to this bike gripping into corners and feeling very positive once you point it downhill. If you do want to lighten it up and make this bike a little bit faster, you know, change the rubber on it. You know, you can get more of a cross-country tire on this bike, but enjoy the bite that this bike comes stock. It comes stock with a dropper seat post, and you know, nuts and bolts of this bike. This bike is $2,349, which, you know, $2,300 is a wad of cash. But when you start looking at full suspension mountain bikes, or just mountain bikes in general, this is 2021. There's a lot of engineering that goes into these things, and they're priced accordingly. These bikes aren't put together. I know, you know, Matt and Sippy and the guys from Marin who engineered this bike and made this bike. They put a lot of time and effort into the numbers and to the suspension rocker. You know, this suspension is not a big suspension. It's like 120, 130. But the way that they have designed this rocker on the suspension, it feels like it takes big hits way beyond what the millimeter spec is on this bike. But yet, it's still light enough and zippy enough to throw around on a cross-country trail, you know, and get some serious speed and some serious miles out of it. It comes stock with a dropper post, so if you haven't ridden with a dropper post, it's no joke. It is fun to have a dropper post. It helps your riding. And this bike has helped novice riders feel a lot more confident. Sometimes on a little cross-country race bike, the numbers are shorter, they're tighter, and that's because they're made for one thing: going through the trail super fast, but they're twitchy. If you make a mistake on a cross-country bike, you're probably going to hit the ground or hit a tree. You can afford to make a few little mistakes on a bike with a little bit more rake, a little bit more trail, a little bit longer. They track good. They go through the sand. You know, you hit some slippery roots with this bike, and you have a little bit more traction to, you know, stay upright. So this bike really has proven itself to be a fantastic, I don't want to say budget bike, but a fantastic bike under $3,000 that's full suspension, that does a whole lot of things right. When I started making my original videos years ago on the Rift Zone, they're raw, but they're real. You know, a lot of it is just me riding this bike, and when I get done riding, I'm hot and sweaty, and I'm talking about this bike minutes after I get off of it. So everything's fresh in my head. And this bike is fresh. You know, when I'm talking about fresh, it has the modern geometry that makes a bike ride so much better. You know, owning a bicycle shop, and we are in Biloxi Bicycle Works in Biloxi, Mississippi, I get a lot of people that are bringing in their older 26-inch mountain bikes because they spent a lot of money on them back in the day, and they want them refurbished. We can do it. It's expensive to do it, and you'll never get the ride of what a modern geometry bike will give you out of a 26-inch mountain bike. And this is coming from me. I grew up on a 26-inch mountain bike. I love 26-inch mountain bikes. I call them vintage nowadays because I know the difference. I've ridden a 26-inch mountain bike, and I've ridden a modern 29er, and they ride completely different. You're almost riding inside this bike rather than riding you know, outside the bike or on the bike. And this bike really does flow through the trails very good. It's got a solid build. So check out the specs on the Marin website. This video is getting long enough, but I really just wanted to do basically an overview of you know, what this bike is. I'm not going to put it on the scales, but it's not a featherweight bike, but it's not made to be. It rides super nice. I think this bike is in the 30-pound range, but don't let specs bother you. Buy this bike, ride this bike, you won't regret it. All right, Bicycle Rider YouTube, over and out.